So welcome to our design webinar. Today we'll be sharing a couple of about how we built our design system. With me is Tola Alade, who is our Chief Design Officer, and we have Emmanuel, who is also present. So we'll just do like quick introductions between everybody, and then we get fully into it. So Tola, maybe you quickly introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yes,
Perfect.
Kelly.
Hi everyone, yeah, welcome to this design webinar. My name is Tola, Chief Design Officer and also one of the co-founders here at Zazuu. My role, I guess, I oversee everything from design, from a product, brand, as well as marketing point of view. And I've got, in terms of experience, I've got about 15 years experience working within this design field. Initially started out as a freelance graphic designer, went on to found my a branding agency, which I ran for about 7 years. And along that journey, we founded Zazuu, and ever since day one, I've been in charge of, and also I get my hands dirty as well in everything design. So glad to be here. Over to you, David.
Alrighty. My name is David Fayemi. I'm a product designer here at Zazuu. By next month, I'll be hitting 1 year at Zazuu, which has been like a very beautiful like experience, totally. I have about 4 years of experience designing products. I started in like 2018, where I transitioned from graphic design into like product design, and it's been a wonderful journey working on various products. I'm currently at Zazuu, where I am learning so much, and we get to work on a lot of interesting products which are to help Africans really like send money seamlessly, and it's been beautiful. And yeah, so right now I'm going to even be the person like doing like a quick presentation on how we built our design system. And yeah, I hope to like really get to pass out more information perfectly. So yeah, over to you, Emmanuel.
Sure. Thank you, David. Yeah, so I'm Emmanuel Bamidele, and I'm a visual designer at Zazuu, and I handle the marketing assets and the social media assets for Zazuu. And I'm very, very passionate about design. I'm passionate about visual design, about motion design, about VR design, and everything design. Again, it is really nice to be hosting this, and it is nice to have you guys here. And I'm sure that this would really be informative and impactful for you. Thank you for joining again.
Alrighty. So getting straight into it, we have what we'll be discussing today. Sorry, I have to be admitting people in here. We have what we'll be discussing today. We have, first of all, we're going to talk about like Zazuu as a product itself and what Zazuu is. I'm guessing a couple of us were at the last event, but for those that were not there, we'll just have a quick rundown of what we are solving here at Zazuu. And then we get right into the topic of today, which is like talking about our design system. And then we talk about like show and tell, where we show you through our design, a quick glimpse into what our design system looks like, and then we'll have like a short session for Q&A. So for Zazuu as a product, let's talk about Zazuu. So currently, yeah, the global cross-border payments is pretty much broken for consumers and like financial institutions. People trying to send money from over at different countries into Africa is very, very hard to do. There are like major problems, which is number one, there's a high cost for people to send money. There are high fees, which is also, then we have like outdated compliance and banking infrastructure. Then we have another problem of low transparency, where there are even hidden fees that are not even known to people when they're trying to send money from places. And it's a lot overwhelming. There are too many products, there's so much, and many people don't even know. Then it's fragmented in the amount of volume of service providers that are out there for people. And people are, when there's a lot of things to choose from, there might be a little bit of problems, and people don't even know where to find this thing. So Zazuu, we are solving the problem. This is currently the user journey map of a typical person trying to send money across borders. So first of all, they want to send money from the UK down to Nigeria. And the first thing they do is they go onto Google trying to find out, okay, what are the best rates? She messages people on WhatsApp, people on maybe Telegram to find out, okay, what the best rate is. Then she starts comparing across multiple channels, and you can see as it's going down, it's taking a lot of time just to send money, like £250 down to Nigeria. Then she exploring many channels to find, okay, what exactly are the costs to compare. Okay, then she finally sees a provider with a like slightly lower fees, yeah, and she's hoping she will get the good service. She enrolls, she finds that she has to wait a day for confirmation before she can do the transaction. And then she makes, you can see it's already going up and it's going back down again when she makes the payment, and it tells her that it's going to take at least 24 hours to send from the UK down to Nigeria. And the wait time is like very agonizing. She doesn't know if it is going, she doesn't know if the bank is going. And 2 days later, she finally finds out that, okay, it has finally gone this, but she's not really happy because this thing is totally fragmented. It's not a smooth transaction, straight sending from the UK down to Nigeria. So what we did was to create the first world global payments aggregator, which is Zazuu. So Zazuu helps people move money seamlessly across borders. So this is now a very seamless practice where Shadi comes in, she comes onto Zazuu, she sees multiple providers at one glance, she can compare them and easily send from there, and picking the provider she decides to use, she can send and also track. And this is very instant. It is like in less than a day to send money down. And so that is what Zazuu is as a product. We enable customers to compare, to pay, and send money within like a single app, rather than having a fragmented journey across. So yeah, that is Zazuu as a product. So we'll just quickly go down into our design system, which is what I'm pretty sure everybody here joined to find out more about. So let's start. So we're going to tell you like a history story of how the Zazuu design system started. Yeah, it was always like pretty as it is right now. So before I go into that, let me just quickly explain what a design system is for those of you that might not know. A design system is a single source of truth, guided by clear standards that can be assembled together to build any number of applications. Basically, anything that is in your product is part of a design system. Stuff like design decisions, your UI elements, your patterns, your documentation. And this is important for every product because number one, it enables efficiency where you can easily decide if there's a single source of truth. Everybody do not have to, back then, before design systems, people could just jump on a project and with multiple designers, and everyone is designing stuff that are quite differently. So you can decide to design something and it is not unified. So I'm looking at a screen that I'm designing, another person is designing something. And then when we put it together, it's like, are these the same app? So design systems really helps to have a single source of truth and a decision, a clear decision where people can now collaborate better to work. And it helps for efficiency, it helps for speed, and it helps to reduce confusion among teams. So it's a very smooth delivery process. So let's go straight into our design system. So in the beginning, there was XD. So our design system used to be in XD, and this is when I joined like almost a year ago. So when I joined, Tola delivered me the system on XD, and I was like, my God, how am I going to use XD for this? But thankfully, we converted it to Figma. So the first steps we did was to take this into Figma. So we had to take in the primary colors, we had to take in the typography and a couple of components into Figma and redesign it in Figma. So to make it like very adaptable. And then we created a very small style guide of some sort, which you can see over there that we could use to design. This was later used and translated into our app. And as you can see, it had like a lot of different things that were happening on the app, but it was beautiful. And we used this for a period of time, down till like May. So in May, we had a refresh. So we had a brand refresh where we worked on our brand and decided to make it more African and bring a kind of like awareness, to bring a kind of like bring it to life. Yeah. So because of that, Tola buzzed me. I was like, David, there's like a lot of work coming your way because we, with the new brand system, we also had to update our design system to give this kind of look. So we cannot have just a brand that is different and our product is giving off a different vibe. So we decided to first now start working on our refresh. The refresh took quite a while. If you were also on our last talk, we talked about how we went through all these processes of defining our redoing our brand refresh, and we had like the discover stage. We had a stage where we were defining, we had the design and development, we had deliver, and this is also available on YouTube where we like explain this in full detail, but that's not what we're here for. So we just jump straight into it. So after our brand refresh, yeah, we decided to now bring it into the design system and taking some of these elements and the new designs that we have done and converting this into a set of standards so that anybody that is designing for the product can also have a sync with how our brand now looks. And so we decided to work on the refresh, but this took quite a number of time, yeah. So it wasn't until July we now decided to now start working on our design system. And this was now when everything started in full blow. I was the one working on this and we had like a very limited time, so we could not do so much extra. And we decided to make it like a kind of a sprint focused way to do our, to build our design system. And to do this, we decided to go using the atomic principles. Okay, sorry, that slide is not there. To do this, we decided to go through the atomic design principles. For those that don't know about the atomic design principles, this was done by Brad Frost in 2016. And what he says is like using, that's there. Okay, so it's forward. So the design principles allowed us to create like a structure for our design systems. And it means like breaking down every decision into smaller bits and building up on those bits till they are like very up there. So you start at the very smallest form, which is the atom. These are like very singular design decisions, which are now built upon. So you have your atoms, then you have your molecules, then you have your organisms, which are now like bigger places, and they keep building up from that. And this also helped us build better because when some people build their design system, what they do is they first design all the components before now deciding to create the design system, yeah. But what we did was we first did a brand audit. So we went through all our existing products, which was on the app. And then we decided to break them down into simpler components, which is, okay, what exactly is this thing? And what are the similarities we can find, patterns that we could find across it? And we also did a brand audit, which was, we did an audit of the usability testing of the app to find out, okay, what were places that were having problems, what were places that were not visible, some places that were having accessibility issues, some places that were not standardized, because as I said previously, we're just pretty much using style guides, yeah, and it was not systemized. Yeah, some headers were having a font of like 24, some headers would be having a font of 32, some headers, some typographies were like not similar across different boards. And because of this, there was creating a kind of disunity and disconnect between each and every part of this. So we decided to first go through and review everything step by step, and also see the places that we could infuse our new brand identity into the product. And this, by doing this, we're able to create like a very good structure and have our decisions like out there, which now helped us create our building blocks for constructing our design system. So without going so much further into it, let us introduce you to our design system. So our design system is Bele. We really want to introduce it. This is the name we gave to our design system, and I'll explain why we gave it this name. So we got Bele from Ndebele. Ndebele is a tribe in South Africa, which is very much known for their art and their patterns, which are really like give off the African vibes. And as an African themed company, we really wanted to connect with our history. So in the Bele tribe have like designs, their mural designs, which are used to communicate between themselves. This was usually passed after the war, and they used it to pass across the women, and the women would sometimes come and draw on their walls, or do you use it for like very small communications between themselves. And this has been passed down ages from women to women to women. And even right now, it is known across the world, with popular people like Esther, who is like 61 years old, but she's like really out there in the design world as someone that has as a design leader in our art. So we looked at it and we really love their patterns. We love the same way they did their jewelry and their aprons. And as you can see, their art, it is really vivid. And this is something that we felt connected with us as designers at Zazuu, and what Zazuu stands for, which is that African vibe and the entire being of being African. And we decided to integrate that into our system. And if you were also here during the last time where we had our brand refresh, we also mentioned this as a huge point of reference, which we use to create our brand. So yeah, introducing Bele, and this is now our new design system. Moving forward, we can now get into design systems, and this is where I get to show you everything that is existing during our design system. So this is our design system. You can see we call it the design system for the mobile app. We'll fully rename it and then we'll get into it. So for this particular, as I said, we made use of the atomic principles. So we divided our foundations into atoms, and then from those atoms, we built our molecules under. For this entire webinar, we'll be focusing more on the atoms than on the molecules, and I'll give you reasons for that. So for the atoms, let's get straight into it. We have, first of all, our color. So Zazuu's color is used to really show, sorry, I want to invite more people into admit more people into the meeting. So we go into color. Our color really imbibes what our brand and sets us apart from other brands. And you can see our color is like really vivid and vivid. It is out there, it is bright, and it's all that. So I'll tell you how we started off on our color. So our design system is not fully tokenized, but it is tokenized to a particular level. For people that might not understand what tokenization is, design tokens are like values which we use to store UI elements. I used to store UI values and UI elements and the values of it. So I'll just quickly break it down to you. Let's look at color. Everybody knows about like the hex values, yeah? And let's say hex value H, so let's break it down. So let's say one of our hex values FFE, Now, if we pass this to developers, yeah, when creating a design system, and we pass it to developers, and let's say they create it with FFEB, later along the line, if you're trying to make changes to this particular color, it will be very hard because they will have to find every instance of that particular color. So you give it a name. Yeah, so the name that you've given a design and what you've used to store the design token and the design value is called the design tokens. And of course, this is not just for color. It can be used for your color, for your typography, for your icons, for your spacings, and for your grids. There are three types of design tokens. We have number one, the global tokens, we have the alias tokens, and we have the component specific tokens. And you don't need to worry about this. I will also explain this as I'm showing our design systems, but then I would not like fully go into it because that's a different topic on its own. So Zazuu's design system is not fully tokenized because we only have our global tokens and we have the alias tokens, but we don't have component specific tokens. And the reason for this, because if we are creating a fully tokenized systems, it can take quite a number of time because you need the developers to be fully on it, and you need to also be like, it takes quite a number of time. And this design system we had to do it as fast as possible. So we just made use of global tokens and alias tokens. And now I'll explain very much. So global tokens are all the tokens that are possible present in it. So the global tokens, like now for our colors, are like orange 50, the orange 75, the orange 100. As you can see listed out here, these are all the tokens that can be possibly used. And this is the name that we've given each and every. So we have our colors, which are our Zazuu orange, and we have the Zazuu teal, we have the Zazuu navy, we have the Zazuu terracotta, we have the Zazuu mint, we have the Zazuu yellow, we have the Zazuu off-white, we have our arrow red and our gray. Those are our global tokens, and we have for every hue we have another name that is given under it, and these are the global tokens. These are every possible tokens that can possibly exist for our color. Now we decided to take it a little bit further. Why do you have an alias tokens? Everybody uses global tokens now. A lot of us have probably something like color orange, color brown, color this, global 100. Some people use 100 to 900. Some people use like 200, and that exists. And those are global tokens as we know them. But we decided to take it a little bit further because let's say we wanted to give a little bit more emphasis to our design decisions so that people can know, designers in Zazuu can know exactly where they can be used. Yeah, so that's the alliance token. So we have stuff like this. So these are all our alliance tokens, and I'll explain more. So let's say we've given the developer a name, which is Zazuu Blue, and everybody knows what Zazuu Blue is. We know the hex value for Zazuu Blue, and this can easily be reached across anyone. Let's say we tell the developer, okay, now make our buttons Zazuu Blue. That is very, very, very easy for them to use. But now let's say across the line, we want to change the buttons to Zazuu Green, but we want it not to affect other things. Let's say a lot of people are using Zazuu Blue, and let's say we use the buttons Zazuu Blue, we use stuff like the text labels Zazuu Blue, we use stuff like the accordions to be Zazuu Blue, and we want to change them down the line, and we just want to change for the buttons. If we change the color for Zazuu Blue, it's going to affect everything, but we don't want it to affect things like the accordions or for the we just want to affect the buttons. So that's when we now create alliance tokens, which are names that are given to specific, names that are given on more let's say more in-depth definition of what they are. So we decided to now give our colors more definition. So now we have the primary palette, we have the secondary palette, and we have this. So we have our primary orange, and our primary orange, as you can see, is taken out of the orange 50. So this is the global token, but this is the alliance token that we have given to it. So we have the primary orange lights, and we have our primary orange, and we have where they are used for in our document or for in our documentation. So we have our primary oranges are used for primary actions. So any primary action like our buttons or links with like high level of importance, we make use of our primary orange. And for our primary tails, we make use of primary actions, but with low levels of importance. So we have that. Then we have our neutral, and we have for each one. So we have the neutral white, which are used for backgrounds. We have our neutral for white backgrounds. We have our neutral background, which is given a gray. We have our neutral borders. We have our neutral for inactive elements. We have our neutral for labels. We have our neutrals for subheadings. We have our neutral for body text, and we have our neutrals for headings. So these are aliases. These are names that we've given our global tokens. They are not totally content, they're not totally component specifics like for each one of them, which is like, okay, we have some are a fully tokenized system might have stuff like a background for buttons. We have background buttons, we have background for things like switches, we have background, but we didn't do it that way because, as I said, it's a lot of time and we don't have a way to manage it, which is usually using the like Figma tokens plugins. If you want to find out more, we'll share a resource for you later at the end of this. So then we created this, and we also had to make sure they are very accessible. So we spent time looking through our main colors, which is our Zazuu brand colors, and finding colors that were a little bit more accessible. So we had to make sure they follow the WCAG guidelines, which is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, to find out if they are very accessible. So most of our colors are AAA accessible, and a couple of them are like AA accessible. Then we created, to do this, we had a particular plugin, which was web content, web color accessibility guide. I can also share this later. So we went through them and we had to spend time daily practicing how to make it like work. So this was our playground where we took a lot of colors and we're trying out colors to make sure they are very, very, very accessible. We were testing them step by step to make sure that we don't have one that is very off. And we had to test it again with the app so that we know that, okay, this thing still feels with our vibes, with our brand color. Then after that, we worked on our secondary palette, and we did this for every part of our palette. And then we created it in our style guide. So as you can see on our style guide, we have our primary orange, we have our primary orange light, and this gives like a documentation. So anybody that is using it knows, okay, this is where to use the primary orange light. So we can see that it's used for the primary action buttons and links with like high level of importance, stuff like primary buttons, stuff like any primary action with a high level of importance are used. We have them here. So this is the active state, and this is the passive state. We have our teal, which is also used, and we see these are used for like primary buttons with low level of importance. We have our neutral white, and again, we give a documentation for each one of them. And this is so that anybody that sees it, both the users, which is the designers and developers, know where exactly this is going to be used. So we had that, we used it for our semantic colors also, and then that was it for our colors. This took quite a number of time. In fact, this was the one that took most of my time when creating the design system. So that was it for the colors. And as you can see, it really works well with our brand. And when pushing it, it worked perfectly. So the next one, typography. Typography is like the major thing in design. Everybody that knows how to design knows that your typography can make or break your design, and we focused on it a lot. In our brand refresh, we decided to create use two typographies, which was the circular STD, and the other one is our I'm sorry, just skip my head right now. But yeah, these are our major design typography. But for the product end, we decided not to use the second one. And this was because we again focus on accessibility, and we noticed that it might not necessarily work and not necessarily be easy for people to read. Okay, that was CY Bold. Thank you, Emmanuel. Yes, CY fonts, CY Pro. And we noticed that the CY Pro fonts might not really be easy for people to read. So we decided to make it using the circular STD, because that is like our major, sorry, I have to admit people in. That is our major focus when building a product. We have to build a product that is easy for people to use and people to understand. And so we focused on the CY fonts. And again, we had to make it tokenized. So we created the major global tokens, which are the headers. For creating this, we used the human interface guidelines by Apple, but it was a little bit more customized because we had to make it really fit our product. So we first started off with the human interface for scaling, and then we practiced step by step to see which one really worked for us. And then we decided to create them. So we have our H1 to our H6, and then we have our paragraphs. We have our extra, we have our large, we have our small, then we have those for captions. And again, as I said, that was the global tokens, and then we decided to make an alias tokens for them and also give them documentation. So we have our H1, which is used basically for our page titles large, and they are used for like labeling a page or view or a modal, and they're also used to describe the content. So we gave it the where they are used and what they are used for. And moving forward, also we have our page titles. The page titles smalls are used for the beginning of navigation page. We have our H3, which are used for all our cart titles. We have our section titles. We have our cart small. We have our labels, and we have also for our paragraphs. We have where they're used. So we have for subtext. They are used as subheadings for like our H6 tags, and we have our use cases. So placeholders for stuff like the font field for our list, and we have our paragraph last, which is like the default state for all our body text. We also have our paragraph small, and again, as I said, we decided to also give them so we have the global tokens, which is this that everyone creates. So we have the H1 fonts, the H1, but we also decided to give them alias tokens, which is where exactly are they used and what are the names we give them. So we have our page titles, which is easily used, and this also is taken from each of these. So as you can see, our page title uses H1, which is the global token that we've given it, and this is the alias tokens for each one of it. So I hope this really explains what tokenization are. So we have number one, the global tokens, which exist, everything that could probably exist and probably be used in the design system are the global tokens. But the alias tokens are like, where exactly are they used and what is the name that you usually use to identify them? So those are the alliance tokens. So we have for our section titles, and again, we give them, but most people use design token, the Figma design tokens plugins, but I found it like a little bit hard to like navigate, and it wasn't really easy given the reason why we didn't use it was, number one, it was a little bit hard, and number two, it was not really organized and easy to like define set like a kind of defined structure for it. So we decided to just make use of this till probably the plugin or Figma, by God's grace, decides to fully bring in Figma tokens into Figma app as it is. Yeah, so that's it for our typography. Next, going forward, we have our icons. So all our icons here are 24 pixels, and we give them a width, and they are also, as we said, given a global tokens, which is a name for easily for them to find. So these are the main ones we use, and these are like our full icon sets, which are given. These are the global tokens, and these like our alias tokens. And we also have our icons for flags. So every flag that can possibly be used is also given a name. So we have flags like Africa, and as you can see, for easily finding any one of them, it's easily compartmentalized. So we have Benin, which is also under Africa. So as you can see, all the flags on Africa are listed. And if we wanted to get stuff from America, if we wanted to get flags from Asia, if we wanted to get flags from Europe and Oceania, and we all have that easily systemized for easy use. Then we have our media, which is anything like logos or stuff that can easily be put in. We have them here. So that is it for our icons. We also have spacings. So we use our 4-point grid spacing. For every space that is probably used, we make sure we follow the 4-point grid. So all our designs are probably like 4 pixels or 8 pixels or 12 pixels. And we have the token name also given to it. So this is the extra small, this is the extra small. We have the small, we have the medium, the big, the extra big, and so on. And we follow this across all our products. So even the website makes use of this particular style of spacing. And for our grids for the mobile view, we make use of a 375 space and a 4 columns grid with a margin of 21 and a gutter of 12, because we tested a couple and we found out that this probably worked best for all our icons. So basically, these are our foundations, and this is the basic structure for which every design component or every design pattern in our design system makes use of. So because of the time that we have, I will just quickly go through a little bit of some of our molecules that we use, and then we just pretty much end it off, and we have the question and answer section. So we have our alerts. Because of the new, we have our alerts, and they have the various states. We also have the text tone. Thankfully, due to Figma releasing component props, we're able to even systemize this properly and better. We have our notifications, and again, we follow like a good naming structure for people to easily find where these components are. So we have alerts / toast, and we have like our alerts / notification. We have our accordion, which is and this is the first base, which is the base component. And we have the master, then we have the component itself. And then we have other types of accordions, which is accordions for more details page. And again, as you can see, we have the smallest atoms parts, and these atoms are now built together to kind of like form the molecule itself, which is the more details full components. Same thing for our avatars. We have the 4 distinct types of components under our avatars. We have our avatar with no image and with the edit mode on. We have our avatar with the no image and the edit mode on. And same thing with those with images and those without images. And also, as a brag, we do not detach our components. And that's a short brag, because we've made this very systemized, that it's very easy to use while working on it. So we have our avatar variants of different sizes, and we have each one. So it is very easy to make use of any avatar anywhere. We can make them small, we can make them large, we can make them extra large, we can toggle the image on, we can edit the image, we can decide to have a no image or those with images. And if we are just doing an image, all we just need to do is come here and decide on what image we want to use, and just boom, that's it. So let's say we're filling it with, let's say any image. So we upload an image, and let me just give it like something like this, and immediately it comes in. So it's very, very, very systemized. So yeah, that's it for our avatars. We have our buttons. So again, this is our base components for all our buttons, and we have the small, we have the medium, we have the large, and we have the extra large, and every place it's properly used across. So we have our primary, and we see where exactly they are going to be used. So these are used for high priorities, and we have this for low priorities. And we have our secondary. Again, these are used for high priority. So anything which is that we want users to easily and quickly do, we have them here. And for things that are like very secondary, but we don't really need users to like do them immediately, we have them on our green. Then we have our tertiary buttons, which are what some people call ghost buttons sometimes. And we have the different states, which is our API. So we have like the default, the pressed, and the disabled. And we have our destructive buttons, which are used when like to delete or stuff like cancel. We have that for our destructive buttons. I will skip cards for now and just go into the others. So we have our default for our date speakers. We have our drop downs. We have our input fields, which again, using the new Figma component properties, are very easy to use and very beautiful at any point in time. So we have them, if they have an helper text, they have that, and you can go deeper into it, where we have like, okay, if they use, if they have stuff like the form label, the form input, if it has like a leading icon, if it has the, what's this thing, if it has a trailing icon, if it has the input, and this is perfectly used across all our products. Then we have other types of input fields. We have our input fields with drop downs. We have our currency converters, and we also have our input field, which are code inputs. So everything is systemized. We have our labels and tags, and our labels are used on every, so we also have the defining structure of where to use each and every one of our labels. Same thing for our lists. So we have our default list, which is the tokens, which is, okay, this is every possible way our list can be built. So we created this as our tokens, and then we decided to make a little bit more structure. So the account details, as you can see, it is calling this default detail, which is how it is. So we created a structure. We looked through all our lists, and when creating this list, as I explained previously, we did a audit of every possible place that our lists are different types of lists, and we decided to create a system so that it is easily created from this design structure, and from this design component, we can set out how our list to use. So anybody that wants to probably create a new type of list can easily do it from here. So we have every possible style. It can be a large text, it can be a small text, it can be a subtype, it can be those with metadata, it can be those that don't have an image, it can be those that have an image, it can be those that have elements, it can be those that for those that have image, we can decide to put the image of, it can have a list label, we can also set the text from here, we can remove the subtext, and with auto layout, it's very easy to really do. And so on and so forth. This is a full system that can easily accommodate any kind of change that exists within our design system. And same thing for our navigation, creating a kind of system for it. We have all our navigation bar. We have the same thing for our sticky footers, same thing for our modal dialogues. This is when we're creating a kind of a system using so that it can be easily brought up. So anybody that needs to create a modal can easily input different slots. So we made use of slots, and these are the different tokens that we first created, the master components that we first created for them and then built on them. So these are the atoms for this, and these are the molecules. So everything is based on structure. For our progress bars, we have this. For our selections, we have the switches, we have our radio buttons, we have our checkbox, we have our check circles, and we have our checkbox plus text. And same thing for our tabs and so on. So as you can see, we first make use of small components, and then we make them a lot more distance by creating a structure based on those small components, combine those components so that easy change can be made across board. So these are all our cards. We have our recipients, they have the wallets, we have the transaction details, and these are also making use of very small details themselves. So as you can see, this also makes use of the accordion button and so forth. So that is it for all our design systems, and everything is being properly systemized. So moving forward, so we've done our components, and then, so the final thing I would like to say is our design system is still evolving. There are so many things that we have to add to make it better. And this is something that you have to constantly do while working on it. So you can't say, oh, design system, you've created one. You have to look across. You do like a usability testing, you find out things are wrong, which is probably your app, or find out that it's something, a better way to systemize it. And you can only do this if you are in constant communication with your developers. You cannot create a design system by just yourself. You have to talk with the developers. You have to find out, oh, is this thing implementable? What kind of structure do they use? What kind of coding are they using for them to also create the design system? You don't do it on, you're not the only ones using it. Your engineers are also people that are using your design system. So when we handed this over, and even while we're creating it, we're in constant communication with each of our developers to find out, okay, is this very easy to build? Is this the proper naming structure that is easier? Or what proper structure can it be easier for you to use? And by the time it was handed over, it was very easy for them to easily implement it. And yeah, and then we now currently have it in our product following the design system. So that is it for us. I really hope you were able to learn a couple of stuff from how we went across each stage building our design system and how to properly structure your design system. Thank you very much. So this is Zazuu. Emmanuel, are you there? Ah, sorry, I have to make you the host again.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wow, that was so amazing. That was so amazing. Well done, David. Well done for taking us through that, in a very detailed and quick manner. It was really beautiful. And I just have a question. I have a question in my mind, and I think it's a question that somebody out there might want to ask. And of course, right now I'm sure that we have questions that want to ask. So we can drop them in the message section, and we'll be sure to answer the ones you can answer before we close, right? So again, very, very informative, very detailed. And so so the question is, if as a design team, right, very small, a startup to be precise, and so we understand the need for us to have a design system, right? Because just as you have said, to systematize things so that we don't come up with things that that put our identity in question, like are this from you guys and whatnot. So where do you say we start from? Where do you say that, like, what are the first steps that you recommend that, okay, like, so that it doesn't, because by the time you look at it from like a bird's eye view, it can really be overwhelming, like, okay, these are the things I have to do and whatnot. So what are like the first bit of steps to start to put things in place?
Okay, so as I was saying, you make use of anatomic design principles. Most people decide to create their components first. Yeah, what you want to do is not do that. What you want to do is first design. Design, let's say, about 3 screens or a particular flow that you've done or need to work on. While you're designing, you then look at everything. You look at like structure. You look at things that are common patterns that are going to use. When you now finally do that, you now kind of create a structure. That structure forms your design decision, so that anybody that is creating that kind of thing, they don't have to go over that process. You already have it down there. That is easy. So you now create your component. So let's say you design 3 screens. You look at all the buttons across the 3 screens. You look at things, okay, where can small buttons fit in? Where can large buttons fit in? Boom, you already have your buttons. You look at the typography, what typography works, what are the heights, what are the what exactly works across each and every one of them. Boom, you have your typography, you have everything. So you look at the icons. Once you decide to add an icon to your designs, and some people can make use of icon packs here, but some people don't do it like that. Some people actually create their icons. So if you create an icon, boom, you've added it to your icon design system. You add it. So stuff like this is how you now build incrementally and building up your design system. As I said, design system is all about evolution. It keeps on growing. It's not something that you initially build and just keep it at that. That is a problem, because then you get stuck in a rut when you need to build. That's the problem, where you now find people, oh, they need to detach their design system or detach it, because the design system itself is not evolving with them, because they need to make new decisions, and this design system can be a little bit limiting. So you need to really create and have more discussions with everybody. So once you find a change, you review your design system, you note out everything that needs to be changed, then you take it back again, and you now have a review of, okay, these are things that needed to change, and then you create them. So it's like that. You build from small steps and keep building till it's like larger.
So it starts from you designing some things first, and just as it is like incremental, and even the things that inform some of the changes eventually will be how the design is working, basically, like in, beautiful. So there are like a few questions here. So the first one is from Adetayo. Stunning presentation. Like, how long did it take to bring all this together, like to this present stage?
A month, and I think 12 weeks, because we had to move fast. We are a startup. We cannot be like, as I said, we cannot wait to rebuild like a full design system till we now move forward. So it was in a month. We had to be very fast. We had to look at everything, and boom. While we were building this, it wasn't just like we were designing it and then we're not doing any other thing else. We also had to like work a little bit side by side. But yeah, fully a month to really build out all the structure that is there and systemize it. Yeah, a month.
Man. Actually, I'm not surprised at that information, Shango. It was within that time frame, and just as you have said, we had to move very fast. But yeah, thank you for answering that. The next one is so the next one is I think so. This person, Bruno Ukeke, said, I think I heard margin of 21. What influenced that decision?
Yeah, so as I said, we kept on testing, just testing how it looked, basically in the app, and then we found out that okay, the 21 really looked like compact. It wasn't too spacious, and it wasn't too like pressing. So we just decided to go with the 21.
Okay, cool. Okay, I guess that's the last question that we'll be taking right now, because okay, let's take this. We have one more, and I think we should call it a wrap. So this is from Adetayo. Oh, David, do you think we should still go on with questions?
I think we have questions about like very, very, very soon. But yeah.
So we should just take one more question, right?
Yeah, let's take like 2 more questions, and that's it. We'll call it a wrap.
Oh, okay, cool. So Adetayo is asking, what was the biggest challenge faced?
I think the biggest challenge, number one, was the time constraints, because we didn't have so much time. As I said, we could not really build so much or really make it fully like tokenized or fully systemized. Yeah, so we had like very short time to really build it. So I think that was one of the things we had. Like the time was a little bit like was tight. But another thing was really finding like a structure that worked. Yeah, because you need to find your structure that also like accommodates and can work round space. So you can work on a header component, and then while you are trying to build it into like the design system, and you now find out that when you're now implementing it later with other headers, you find out that it does not work, and you're like, oh my god, how to make this work? And then you have to go back again and review your design system and try and see, okay, this is how best to make it work, this is how best to make it systemized. So yeah, I think that was the second one that was really out there, one of the challenges we had.
Wow. Man, thank you for answering that. Okay, so I guess thank you, Adetayo. So I guess that should be it. Once again, thank you for joining. Thank you so much.
Okay. Aren't you going to tell them about our launch of the Zazuu Design?
Yeah. I was coming to that. But yeah, I think you will do that actually. I'll just touch briefly on something.
Well, let's let
so yeah.
Tola do that.
Tola,
Let's do here. No, so
Tola
let's
still
move
on the
on.
call? I doubt. Yeah.
Okay, so do it. Let's launch it.
Okay. So yeah, again, I'll pass that on to you. So again, thank you for joining. And this session is recorded, so it will be available on YouTube. So I'm sure that there was a lot of information that was passed across. So you can always go back to YouTube. The link will be shared, right? Eventually. So we'll definitely share the link across to everyone, and you can always go back and watch this too. So amazingly, and this we are really excited about this. We recently launched our website, and I would just like David to talk more about this, because I feel like, yeah. So David, I I leave this to you.
You shall push it back to me, Emmanuel. Yeah, I don't know if we need to still be like sharing our screen, but let me just give you a quick idea into what our design website is. So we at Zazuu really are one of our one of our values is community, and we like to give back to the African team. And what we decided to do was to create a place where we can share some of the things we talk about in-house, some of the things we learned, and to make it open to other people. So all our thoughts, probably something that we find, something that we really enjoy, or something that we learned and we just want to share, or like in knowledge that we know and we can write about, so that we can take the African design space outside. We don't just want something to be, we don't want just people on the top spaces, like people like the Spotify or just the Netflix, to just be reigning like that's a white man's company. We want something that is fully African themed, to really be standing out there as one of the design leaders, and also to give back to the community and really stand out there. So the Zazuu Design website was created for this purpose. So imagine we have everything in our head. We're sharing all the soap that we have in our head, everything we probably know, things that we are learning, things that we are listening to, things that we are watching, and we're going to be releasing this out there for people to see and to follow as we also share this. So for people that want to know where it is zazuu.design. That's Z-A. Okay, yeah, Emmanuel is posting the link already. So that's zazuu.design. And trust me, this is going to be something wild. It's something that is really going to be out there. Then also, prior to when I started this, I said I was going to share a resource. This is a resource that I've been collating for quite a while now, let's say a year now, which is everything that I've learned about design system. Also, this is going to be available on our website very soon. But for those that are out there right now that are a lot confused about some of the terminologies we use, like design tokens, design components, I've collated resources for all this, so that anybody that really needs to follow the path and learn can easily like check out this place, because there's a lot of things and you can get a lot confused on how to learn it, because like so many distracting things. So I've created kind of like a road guide, and I think I'm sending that now for everybody to see. Yeah, so that's it. Again, thank you guys for attending. We really appreciate. There's so much more we have in store for you, and keep on looking out for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Catch you some other time. Thank you.
Bye guys.
Bye.